Bro, these teams do suck.
Yeah, so I told you guys last week it was going to be a bonus episode, but these guys muscled me out of that.
See, Trav didn't realize, but Joe and I silently already made the decision that was never happening. I thought I was going to win the grace, because I was like, I'll end it with just telling him how good he is. And then before I could get to the outro, he's like, I learned it from you, Daddy.
You know what that's called, Jax? Because you guys dog me for all my Canadianisms. That's called a Canadian standoff is what that is.
Mm.
A Canadian standoff.
No, I'm sorry. I think the biggest takeaway, though, is that it just feels really sad that saying nice things about Quinshon Judkins now feels akin to what it feels like to listen to R. Kelly. Sights and sounds and edges found. You will now get down with the Underground, the show that goes to the depths of the Dynasty landscape. The Dynasty Underground is back in your life. I am Trav, hosting and West Coasting as usual. The usual suspects are with me, of course. The wise man, Jax Falcone, fighting through some allergies, but still with us, the warrior that he is.
Yeah.
How you doing, my man, battling through?
Jordan game. Yeah, it has nothing to do with excessive drug use. It's just allergies.
Yep, just allergies for the wise man, but he's still here, and we absolutely love that.
I ate the pizza.
And of course, in the corner office with the view, back with the collared shirt on, pinkies up, ladies and gentlemen. Probably still no more dirt on that hard hat, Joe Quavius Kuvatakis. How you doing tonight, man?
No, just dust. Just dust on that hard hat. I'm doing great, man. We were talking about how bad the teams were that we're going to talk about this evening, but I'm kind of excited because that's where we find some gems is on these bad teams that nobody wants. This is where we find some gold, right?
Yes, sir.
And hard hats on.
And being that we are the Dynasty Underground, these teams could change their fortunes in a matter of a couple of seasons. So very important to talk about. And we are continuing our team series. This is kind of the last group, boys, but not quite the last group because we did have some that didn't make it onto the episodes where we ran long. So last week I did promise you a bonus episode, and what that just means that the next week's episode is going to be entitled bonus episode. So stay tuned for that. We're going to keep it on our regular scheduled programming because life barely permits one recording session, let alone a second recording session in a week. So next week you'll get those straggler teams, but this week we've got the bad teams, guys. We're going to talk about some teams that Jax, you to kind of circle us back to the first episode, you are the one who dialed in these show sheets and you categorized them all real nicely. And you categorized this one bad, right? With a question mark. And I think that is a very fitting title for these teams because we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns. We're going to talk about the New York Giants, New Orleans Saints, New York Jets, and the Tennessee Titans, which is where we're going to start, guys. Of course, anybody listening, please subscribe on the YouTube channel. Check us out on the audio platform that you prefer and on the social media accounts. But the Tennessee Titans, guys, interesting team. Of course, they came in and drafted one Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick. So there's a little bit of new optimism around the team. Brian Callahan still the head coach, some wide receiver additions as well. And so we're going to unpack this team, and we're going to start with Cam Ward, guys, because like this team looks like they kind of need him to put it on his back. That's a hard thing to bet on for a rookie to do. And so it seems like he's starting at somewhat of a disadvantage. I've got some thoughts on the scheme that he comes into with Brian Callahan as well, but we'll get there. Joe, what are your thoughts on Cam Ward year one and how we're going to feel about him? Obviously how we feel about him now, and then maybe what he could do in year one and make us feel, what's he going to make us feel going into 2026?
I I hate myself for this, but my brain just groups. My brain comps players to other players, whether I like it or not. There's all these things to like about Cam Ward, right? All right, yeah, sure, he was in college forever, but he went from I don't know. I can't remember, Sacred Heart or some crazy no name school. He just like
Incarnate
worked his
Ward.
way.
Incarnate
Incarnate
Word.
Ward. Thank you. And he just like kept moving his way up in programs and getting reps, and that's all great. I think we can all agree that if he was in last year's class, he would have been like the 7th quarterback taken, but this year he's number 1. So we have some concerns about like the validity of his 101 pedigree. I'd say he got like the least buzz of any 101 we've seen in recent memory. My brain lumps his play style stylistically to like, I don't know, it's somewhere between like Matthew Stafford and Jameis Winston. It's like he's like serious Jameis, right? Which is pretty damn appealing
It'd
for
be kind of
fantasy,
fun.
right? But he does like this sidearm stuff. He does these weird angles. So it's like, I have no idea what this guy is going to be. I don't know. Like, is this a good environment? Is Brian Callahan a good head coach? I don't know. We have more questions than we do answers. Like, it's like, is he deserving of this pedigree? Is the offense going to be good? Does he have any talent on this team? Like, there's just, it seems like he's set up for failure. And yet I really, really, really want to believe in him. So, I don't know. I don't have any like mind blowing stats for Cam Ward aside from the fact that I think he's worth the gamble and he might be good, but we could say that about any 101, right? It's like a 50-50 shot. It feels like regardless.
Totally. And I think maybe there's a little bit of vibes involved with Cam Ward too, because it kind of felt like with this quarterback class that he was like one of the only girls at a sausage party, right? Like he looked way prettier than he actually was. But also like it almost feels like it's too easy to dismiss him just because of that, right? Because he did some really good things in college at some programs that didn't set him up for success either. So
Yeah.
I like all that about Cam Ward. And I think like at the price that you're getting him at, like he's like outside the top 20 in quarterbacks potentially. So I think you can get him pretty late, and he's pretty
Well, and
late.
then pre-draft, Gatorade did this like video series with him and with Shador Sanders, right? And it was like so clear. He was just alpha dogging Shador the whole
Yeah,
way through. So it's like I decided then, I was like, I'd rather have Cam Ward than Shador Sanders. Little did I know how much the NFL agreed with that stance.
Yeah.
But I don't know what does that actually mean. It's like, all right, you're better than this dude who ended up going in the 5th round. I don't know.
It just feels like such a dysfunctional team though, too, doesn't it? Like there's no, I don't know, there's nothing that makes sense together. It's like a collection of misfit toys, you know? It's like their starting wide receivers are like, I don't know, like Tyler Lockett, Calvin Ridley, like that doesn't feel like,
Van
I mean,
Jefferson.
yeah, Van Jefferson,
Traylon
maybe.
Burks.
Yeah, it's like Burks is still there. Alec Iamanor, like I wouldn't be surprised if Restrepo ends up becoming the slot at some point. Like I just don't know, man. This is a very strange team. They've got a lot of new names on the offensive line. Chiga Conquo still exists. They bring in Gunnar Helm. It's like there's so many questions that I did do my pod with Andrew Cooper, shameless plug for the undrafted this week, but like he was talking about how, going into last season, he projected like a few teams to not have a single 100 target player. And it's like, you kind of look at some teams and it just feels like everything like the Packers last year, right? Their number one target earner was like 76 targets or something like that. Remember, it's like, might we have something like that where it's just kind of a lot of muted nothing, where I think Cam Ward will be precocious, right? Like I don't think he'll be bad, but I think it's going to be a very high level challenge for any player to go into this situation and win. Like, name a quarterback you like, Jordan Love or Joe Burrow or wherever you want to take someone, Drake May, and just put him in this situation. You'd be like, it's gonna be rough.
Tough
It's gonna be
lugging.
rough, right? So
Yeah.
like I think we're going to be grading on a curve with Cam Ward, and that may open up some buying opportunities if you believe in him. I think because I think there's going to be some like, wow, they got absolutely shit beat this past week. Did you see that? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of that. So it's going to be up and down. I am certainly not confident having Cam Ward as my like quarterback 2 starting week 1 in Superflex. I'd much rather have him, on the taxi or just waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in one league where I'm gonna have to start him, and it's pretty terrifying. But I will say, like, yes, it's like misfit toys to your point, but I don't know. Excuse me. Calvin Ridley seems like a pretty darn good bet to me to get like 120 plus targets,
yes,
right? I
that's
think
true.
he's
Yes.
going to, and I am a Nor, Ayamainer, however, I haven't settled on how to say his name. Like, he kind of strikes me as like the perfect sacrificial X for this team, right? Where it's like this dude loves blocking. He loves blocking. He's also super athletic. He's like Mac Hollins 2.0, but with more upside, I want to say. So it's like I actually think like having a dude like that on the team is going to help the overall picture while maybe not being a great fantasy asset in himself, but like can allow Ridley to play a little bit more flanker as opposed to being the
Bingo.
X. So I think it's kind of interesting that Burks is kind of in this position where it's like now can he be the big slot we always envisioned him as? I mean, if you look at his,
He did.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty sad. If you look at his targets per route run numbers and his yards per route run
I wouldn't
numbers,
even
it's
go that deep. That's
yeah,
too deep
it's
to
pretty
go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's been too long for Traylon Burks. It's not going to happen. This is probably like maybe the maybe second regime that he's been. No, third regime, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not putting Traylon Burks any higher than like 6th on that wide receiver depth chart at all. Like, I was looking at some camp reports today, and like there's 3 rookies there that are all having positive signs. Amanor is like showing all that grit and stuff that you mentioned. Shamir DK, that 4.34 speed guy who was drafted higher than Alec Amanor actually, at the 4.01 in the real draft.
You afraid to say Dyke?
No, it's
Yeah, I
actually
know.
DK,
Like,
isn't it? Isn't it
I
DK?
mean,
If
it
it's
is,
Dyke,
but
that's way better.
it is, but I
Okay.
prefer calling him Dyke as
Are
well.
we making the call? Totally. I'm down
I'm
for that,
just
boys. Don't get me wrong.
just reading the word. It says Dyke.
Okay, so executive decision, Shamir Dyke.
It's like
still
A chain,
proven,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like actually
Well,
it's a chain. It's like
Achane. Yeah,
I
it's
think
like
it's A chain.
okay,
thank you guys
whatever.
for making me feel okay about it. I just didn't know if
Who's
this
the
was
other
a
guy
safe
that
space or
changes
not.
his name to Bidet? Who's Bidet?
Batty.
Batty, right?
Tyler
He's like,
Batty.
no, it's Bidet. You're like, it's not
Yeah.
fucking
That is
Bidet.
not
It's
bidet.
Batty.
No,
Your name
it's
is
Batty.
what the? Yeah, and first of all, you changed your name from like a hot girl to a toilet. Like, why would you do
Yeah,
that? Just go with
totally.
Batty.
What, you're a
What is
water jet
going on?
into somebody's ass? Like, that's what you are?
Right? No,
So
please.
to get us back on the rails a little bit, which is
Speaking of water jets and girls' ass,
yeah,
Shamir Dyke.
he's fast. Yeah.
I don't know if you got that joke. That was
Yeah.
come on, guys. Trying to help.
I got it. Yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, those 3 rookies are all like notable. You know what I mean? Like, Restrepo said something about like over the last couple of days he had the most catches. DK's fast, and I think all of that plays well to what you said, Joe, which is my take as well. Let's stop using Calvin Ridley as an X receiver. Let's get him moving around. Let's get him playing some slot. Let's get him playing some flanker. If we remember those Atlanta Falcons seasons, which are the biggest seasons that he's ever had, that was with him playing the slot flanker and Julio at the X. So I think he is much better suited for that. And I really hope that some of these other guys can do it. Like, I don't think Lockett's doing it. I don't think Van Jefferson's necessarily doing it. So maybe it does have to be one of the rookies. But I think in that situation, it is more of a sacrificial than it is a guy who's going to take much away from Ridley. So I think it all plays really nicely into Ridley getting those 120 plus targets. He had 117 last year, boys, but the target quality that he had was absolutely terrible. If you look at it, he only caught 64 of his 117 targets, but he was the only wide receiver of the 53 wide receivers that had 75 targets to have a lower than 70% catchable target rate. So he was only given 67.9% catchable targets on those 117 targets, which was 3rd lowest of that group of 53. So I think Cam Ward's going to improve that for Calvin Ridley. And I think Calvin Ridley's a bit of a, maybe not a buy low on a dynasty roster, but in a startup, when you're looking for like a team where maybe you went running back heavy and you need to stack some of those wide receivers in the mid rounds, I'm fine with Calvin Ridley.
yeah.
So who do you think is going to end up being the number 2 target earner / receiver?
I think
on this team?
it's going to start out as Ridley and Lockett because they brought Lockett in this offseason. I think it's going to be hard for them to just throw one of those young guys out there and trust them. I think Lockett was shite last year. I love Tyler Lockett, though, so I'd love to see this. And I don't really have that much belief in Van Jefferson. I think he can be one of those kind of like downfield third wide receiver guys for a little while until the rookies come along. But I think Lockett is going to be the slot flanker to start. And that could be fruitful too. Lockett is like extra free right now, boys. And like in Dynasty, we don't want him because he's old and shitty. But he is like ultra throw in a trade as a guy who could be a wide receiver too on an NFL offense.
I agree. The murkiness of the situation actually makes me much more interested in Chigakonkwo because he's got like the possibility of being the number 2 target earner on this team. And that in and of itself makes him a fairly compelling ad for this season. So like I've talked about that one team I have Kyle Pitts on that like haunts me. I've got Chicago on that team, and I've spent a lot of money on Darren Waller, who just went on the pup list today. Woohoo! So I'm like, Chicago might be starting some games for me early in the season until I see signs of life from either of those other two bums.
Mm-hmm.
Where did Nick Westbrook-Akine go again?
Dolphins.
He's on the Dolphins.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyler Lockett coming in to play those Nick Westbrook-Akine downs, it looks like.
Yeah, no, Van Jefferson, Shamari Dyke. I don't know. It's all like I think A. Maynard has the best chance to emerge of this entire group
behind the two guys, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it's this season, right? I think he's more of a developmental prospect, Canadian guy who didn't get a ton of experience in college. Had some really big plays in college in some big games on a bad offense with a bad quarterback. So I don't know. I think he's probably like the most compelling upside bet here, but I don't think you're gonna get much out of anybody but Ridley and maybe a Okonkwo this year.
Yeah, I think
pretty much agree. I will say Restrepo, like if they choose to play him, he could have one of those. Like he is the, he's the lunch pail guy, even though he's not.
He's the like Welkery dude, yeah.
Yeah, he's a lunch pail slot. I mean, what was the kid for the Raiders that came in that looked like he was an accountant? What was the little guy?
All, was it Renfro?
He's Renfro, and he's on,
right.
And he's
also making a comeback.
Yeah. How dare you? Renfro won national championships, caught the game-winning touchdown in a national championship, and also, he's back.
His route running strikes fear in the heart of quarterbacks.
Look, I'm just saying that Renfro did it like, right off the bat, like because that skill set is either you can do it or you can't, and I think Restrepo can do that. Whether or not they choose to put him in to do such a thing, play slot receiver in the NFL, is the bigger question. I think if they do, Cam Ward's going to be compelled to throw him the football. I've heard stranger things is all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying the Renfro to Restrepo comparison one bit. Like Renfro actually had some wheels. Restrepo ran like a 4.8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's not NFL speed. I mean, like once we get below 4.7, we start to get really worried. And he ran like a 4.8. Yeah. Whereas Hunter Renfro ran a 4.59. That's well within the range of acceptable speed for a wide receiver.
I think it was a little bit more general. Jax, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak for you. I think you were more saying like slot target hog, kind of like.
I don't think Restrepo is going to be anything. I'm saying that if they somehow put him in the game, he's going to get targets from his buddy Cam Ward. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not advocating to go get any of these. I'll tell you where the buy is on this team at cost is probably Tajay Spears. I mean, the running backs will get some targets here in this system. They're going to get carries. It's going to happen. It's not like they're going to be great, but if one of them were to somehow get the lion's share, whether it's Pollard or Tajay, there was some positive camp vibes and words coming out from, I forget who the hell it was, someone in the coaching or front office about Tajay saying, oh, he looks so good. And, that stuff's a bunch of nonsense till it comes to fruition, but it's better than the alternative, which is not really sure. He's not picking up the playbook. I mean, those you hear that sometimes too. And you're hearing the opposite about Tajay. So we liked him, remember? I mean, you can think back, we liked him as a prospect, as a pass catcher, as a route runner, as a multifaceted back that if he gets enough playing time, will get enough high leverage touches, including targets.
Yeah. My main concern with Tajay, I agree with you, and I think he's very interesting. My main concern with him is like, let's just say Pollard goes down.
Yeah.
Like, I think this rookie out of Michigan, Khalil Mullings, is going to basically become the meat shield, and Tajay is probably going to keep something similar to the same role.
Tajay's
Agreed.
gonna
Trav, I
be
see him.
fine, Joe. I'll tell you why. I was looking at it too. Like I had this like cloud over Tajay as well, just because like it's obvious. Like if Tony Pollard's healthy, he's the bell cow running back there, right? He
Yes.
was getting 65 to 70% snaps when Tajay was healthy. When Tajay went down, Tony Pollard was up to like 90% snaps.
Yeah.
But around week 14, Tony Pollard got an ankle injury, and I had to look into this too because I like Tajay as a talent, but the situation just felt kind of bad. Pollard caught that week 14 ankle injury, played the next 2 games, but had less than 50% snaps, missed the 3rd game. So across those 3 games, Tajay was only getting around 60% snaps. So he didn't go up to that 80, 90% like Pollard did when Tajay was injured. Tajay in those 3 games, small sample size, was the running back 6, scoring over 20 points per game, Joe. So I think Tajay can still be fine on that smaller workload. The problem is that he's not even getting a big enough workload when Tony Pollard's healthy. So I think when Pollard's healthy, Tajay's stuck with that kind of 30% workload, change of pace shit that's not really going to make us very happy. If we see him get up into that 40, 50%, we really, really need to take note because A, he might be startable for us in a flex every week. And B, if that moves up into 60%, then I'm advocating for you to absolutely start him every week. So even if he is the 1A at 60% snaps, I think he showed that he can produce, whereas Tony Pollard's been getting that kind of snaps and he hasn't really produced whatsoever. So that pendulum could kind of swing. It feels like they just like Tony Pollard for whatever reason. Maybe Tajay doesn't have quite the size, maybe doesn't have quite the blocking necessarily for them to trust him, but I think Tajay is pretty dope if he can get even the positive end of a split.
I think if you look at, Tony Pollard, you'll see some of the efficiency metrics were better when he was on better teams. That being said, the bigger omission here is Joe Quavius overlooking the fact that 6th round pick Khalil Mullings is going to have to climb over a much better back and my boy Julius Chestnut to get even on the team, let alone to get on the field. Secondly, you erroneously said that Cam Ward played at Sacred Heart. My boy Julius Chestnut came from Sacred Heart, and I actually got a visit to Sacred Heart when I was coming out of high school. So that tells you how bad that program is. Those are all facts.
Dope, though. You were recruited by a university.
I mean, I didn't go there, so I wasn't recruited that well. They weren't begging me. Let's just put it that way. Huh?
Sacred Heart doesn't seem like a fit for you for some reason, Jax.
Thank you. That's very, very nice of you.
Yeah. Hey, I know my mans, don't I? You sweet little church boy. Yeah, so I mean, Tajay, I think both of these guys could kind of be a value too, though, because despite the kind of inefficiency, it seems like they want Tony Pollard to be the guy. They're trying to jam that square into that round hole. He was getting bell cow snaps, like top 10 snaps, top 10 rush attempts among running backs, lots of goal line carries for them. He also saw 56 targets, which was top 10. So at running back 33 prices in a dynasty startup right now, I think that's pretty decent. It's just hard because how long is he going to be getting that? I think he probably has a shot to be like on the downside. He's probably a 1B for the next couple of years. If he bounces a couple of teams, maybe gets a shot to be that 1B. So it's a little bit fickle there, but I think at least in 2025, maybe 2026, he could return on what's been a much lower cost than previous.
I mean, I just noticed he barely chinned the bar, as to use a phrase from Mr. Joquev, but Tony Pollard, that is, has 3 consecutive 1,000-yard rushing seasons. I mean, he was at 1,007, 1,005, and 1,079. Not exactly crushing it, but I wonder how many players can say that other than like Najee Harris. Did he do that or whatever? You know what I mean? So not very many players, just ironically.
I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to challenge Trav here a little bit. I'm looking at Tajay's game log here. And yeah, you're right. So weeks 15, 16, and 17, he got 56, 60, and 65% of the snap share. That running back finish you're talking about seems to me like it was really buoyed by two touchdown games in there. So 4 touchdowns. He had 5 touchdowns on the season, 4 of them came in that 3-week stretch. I just don't know that we can count on that. I think he's I think he's a fine little player and definitely, a startable player in a pinch. We like the pass catching chops and all of that, but I don't know. I'm looking elsewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm never hanging my hat on a 3-game sample size. That's for damn sure.
No, but here's the thing with
he's
Tajay.
got some explosiveness, and he's got some more efficiency than Tony Pollard has had so far.
This is his 24-year-old season. As a rookie, 70 targets. Last year in only 12 games, 35 targets. So I mean, he is utilizing the passing game. So that's what I'm saying. Like, at the very least, he's got a little bit of passing game utility floor. And if Pollard were to get hurt, his rushing would increase to the point where it would be, 10 something carries a game. I mean, at least, right? And 10 carries plus 70 or 80 targets for a given season, that type of pace is really, really strong. I think that's what he brings to the table. I don't think he's some running back one in hiding. I just think he could have really good utility, especially in PPR formats. That's all.
Yep.
You got to remember, these teams suck, Joe. We're trying to find something.
Yeah. middle of the road RB2 with some weekly flex appeal and a pinch.
That's a fucking win. That is a huge dub on
that's
Tajay.
That's a 0 RB,
I've started worse.
Yeah,
of course.
I
mean, who would you rather be starting, right now, like Jerome Ford or Tajay Spears? You know what I mean? It's like,
Jerome Ford.
Probably Jerome Ford, actually.
Well, okay, that's a bad example. You know what I mean?
Tony Pollard's hurt, Tajay Spears.
Yeah, there you go. I suppose
because Tajay's not getting shit with Tony healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, boys, we're gonna go to the Meadowlands, and my first question:
At least we have someone fun to talk about.
How the fuck are you not done with the Titans, Joe?
I said I'm so done with the Titans.
Okay, I thought you said I'm not done with the Titans.
Please continue.
Jeez, thank you. My top
Gunner Helm. Get Gunner Helm.
Yeah. My top note for the New York Jets guys was, is it Strawberry Fields forever in the Meadowlands?
Jets. I thought we were going Giants. Jets.
Yeah, forever. Oh, I guess which Meadowlands? Yeah, we got both of those stinkers on this one, but we're talking Jets on this one. And maybe not forever, but do you think, I want to talk about whether it can be Strawberry Fields for 2025 for the New York Jets, because Justin Fields comes in there as the starting quarterback, new head coach in Aaron Glenn, some similar faces in Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson still there. And so not a ton of optimism here. I think for fantasy, there is some value that we can mine, but let's start with Justin Fields and what we think he can do. Do we think he can hang on to this job for the entire season first? And we'll start with you, Jax.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way that they've set this thing up, it's almost like he'd have to really, really crash it against the rocks in order to be pulled. They're not just going to be like, you know what, maybe let's go with Tyrod. I just don't see them really going there unless it's like, dude, we have to go to fucking Tyrod. That's more of the conversation that has to happen before this all, comes undone. They're 2-8. He's throwing picks all over the place. You're like, what are we even doing? And then you have bigger problems in Dynasty, because then the starting opportunities for Justin Fields may have run dry. So this is a make or break season for Justin Fields in terms of long-term viability as a Dynasty asset. But as a short-term play, he's drafted, after everybody, he's taken in and around. Like, I just did the mock, and I just got I'm doing the Yahoo fantasy mock with Justin Boone and a bunch of other people, and I took him 7th round or whatever it was. I took him ahead of Dart, ahead of Tua, after Bryce Young. So right there, right? So everybody basically had their quarterback 2. You take him there, and it's like you have a decided advantage over all the other quarterback 2s for 2025. You just have fragility after that, right? You know, so it's almost like the same bet as a Matt Stafford bet, except with higher ceiling, because Matt Stafford, who knows if he comes back next year or plays or retires, right? So, but he is more expensive than Matt Stafford, and he does have potential to keep a job. Like, if they go even 8-9 and they're frisky and he's okay, he's probably coming back. You know what I mean? It's so Justin Fields, I think Evan Silva has him as his quarterback 6 in redraft this year. Dude, it's the Devontae Adams corollary at the quarterback position, where it's like, I'm getting real production, fantasy production, at this ridiculous dynasty cost. And so that's where he is so important in your dynasty roster.
Yeah, Jax, to your point about the Evan Silva thing, we just did our top 24 quarterback rankings this week on the True North Fantasy Pod. Shout out. Justin Fields comes in at my quarterback 11 for 2025. And it's just like, even if he's a terrible passer, the rushing is still going to be good. I crunched a little bit of numbers today, guys. Across his career, so 4 seasons, he averages more than 9 fantasy points per game via only rushing. Across his career, he hasn't had less than 5.8 fantasy points per game via rushing since his rookie season, and one of those seasons he had almost 11. So looking at the Jets offense, they need his rushing to be a weapon, and I think if we look at kind of the condensation and lack of weapons beyond Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, I think that kind of helps Justin Fields, because he's not going to have as many decisions to make or decisions to get wrong, essentially. And so basically for him, it's going to be Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson again, or run the ball. And I think that simplifies things potentially. I think that's, perfect storm comes together and it's that simple for him for sure. But I think some of these things could play into his hand to keep that job and be that, ceiling quarterback that you can get super late, Jack. So I love all of that you're saying. I'm also just a Justin Fields truther. Like, I've loved him since his rookie season, always ranked him way higher than was necessary. This year, I think it might pay off, boys.
I have no qualms with anything you guys are saying in terms of like his viability as a starter this season. I do think the shelf life is probably, pretty short. I think that the most likely scenario for how this plays out is like he starts this year, he's a QB1 in fantasy football. The Jets stink. They're drafting a quarterback in next year's draft, and he's got 4 games before he gets supplanted. The following season.
That is
right?
most likely scenario.
That's how this movie ends, right? We kind of that's the most like maybe he shocks the world, and maybe the Jets are way better than expected, but.
The question is if he can be good enough to like earn a second job somewhere else. That's really it.
I mean, we'd be talking about a 4th job somewhere else.
I think he's got a couple of those left potentially for like a team that, look, dude, Aaron Rodgers is about to start the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. So I think
Justin Fields. Yeah.
I think Justin Fields. Yeah, I know. But I think he's going to be able to latch on, at least competing for jobs for the next few seasons. And so maybe he wins one for sure, but that's totally like rose-colored glasses for sure.
I think what's most interesting in this is like, what do we think we're looking at for 2025, right? So in 2022, which is the career year from a rushing standpoint that you referenced, he rushed for 1,143 yards and he had 8 touchdowns rushing. He had 17 touchdowns passing. His interception rate has never been super high, so he like takes pretty good care of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So
fumbles a bit.
He fumbles a bit, he looks lost at times. Like, I think, has he improved? I mean, he looked decent in Pittsburgh last year. He wasn't doing anything to cost them games, but you gotta wonder how much was he like, protected, and it seemed like quite a bit. So, I think what's more compelling is just like, what does he mean for fantasy? And from a fantasy standpoint, it's like, yes, QB1 this year, probably, that you can get for QB2 prices. So that's valuable in and of itself. What I really like about him, though, is the predictability of what we're going to get, right? You're going to get, you're going to get just a highly targeted Garrett Wilson. So, with Justin Fields, with DJ Moore, that 1 year in Chicago, DJ Moore was averaging 19 fantasy points per game. Right, that's a wide receiver 1 type of finish. Now, granted, there's like a 46-point game in there, so that kind of skews the number. But hell, that game happened, right?
Garrett Wilson could do that.
Exactly. Like, who do you think's better, Garrett Wilson or DJ Moore? I think
Garrett
it's
Wilson.
Like interesting, but I think Garrett Wilson's the better player. So a highly targeted Garrett Wilson is super interesting from a fantasy standpoint. Also, I think one really underrated component to Fields' game is he had like a 15% check down rate last year. I don't know if that was a function of the offense or what, but that's pretty damn bullish for Breece Hall. Usually we don't like rushing quarterbacks for our pass catching running backs, but if Fields, if like that continues, if it's like first read Garrett Wilson, if that's not there, I'm going to check down to the running back.
We like that.
I mean, that's phenomenal. So like the best thing about Justin Fields is one, like the predictability of something like a QB1 finish, albeit ugly and buoyed by rushing yards. But two, it's like feeding Garrett Wilson and feeding Breece Hall, and also like the Alfred Morris corollary that comes with his rushing ability. So
well, the three most efficient plays for them is throwing the ball to Garrett Wilson, somehow giving it to Breece Hall, and Justin Fields running.
Yeah.
Like, so it does actually behoove them to kind of do that. It's like, is Garrett Wilson open? Maybe Breece. I'm going. You know, it's like, that's actually, as stupid as that sounds, that's like, that's the offense. Otherwise, like, what are we even doing? Like,
otherwise they fucked it up. Otherwise they fucked it up.
It's kind of crazy, but that's actually like kind of true, you know?
Yeah.
Malachi Corley's just out there getting cardio.
Josh Reynolds will be the guy getting
Josh Reynolds
cardio.
is going to get lots of cardio. Yeah. Malachi is going to be
get some
cutting on dimes.
Unless he's riding the exercise bike. You know?
Yeah. Be on the sidelines on the exercise bike. Yeah, no, I like Fields coming in here. I think it's going to be a good play as that quarterback one, and he's gone through bouts of being a really pretty productive deep passer as well. So I think there is maybe some explosion potential that could happen. Kind of leads to that DJ Moore point that you mentioned, right?
I think Malachi Corley will be sitting in the Alan Lazard cuck chair.
Wait, where's Alan Lazard gonna be?
Playing. He's gonna be on the field. Be like, boy, hold my water. You know, it's like, yeah. He's like, sure, whatever. Lazard's like 6'6". He'll just tell him what to do. It's just gonna happen that way. Yeah. So like Debo and like everybody else. He's just gonna. That's my bike.
Wait, but Malachi was supposed to be the next Debo. Don't you guys remember?
I know. He's like I said. He's gonna be on the ottoman. Feet up, baby. You know.
All right, is there any other wide receiver on this team we're talking about, even worth rostering? Like, are we? I'm not rostering any of these guys. Like Alan Lazard, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith. Some people were interested in him.
Arian Smith was just drafted in the 4th round, way higher than we thought. And he is very, very fast. So, maybe a deep dynasty stash on a taxi squad, but that is about it, fellas.
Yeah. I think that's it. Right.
This is a Josh Reynolds at value type of thing. Like, I have teams with Josh Reynolds, like deep dynasty leagues that
and he's going to return on it.
I have him on the roster, but it's like, it's almost like he's a roster clogger, but like at the end of the day, if it's a super deep roster and you happen to have Josh Reynolds, it's like whatever. But yeah, I think he's going to play, but how many targets is he going to get? Like 75, you know? Maybe, this is the Garrett Wilson show. I think the bigger question, because Lazard, Josh Reynolds, Corley, this Arian Smith,
tight end there. Who is their tight end?
Mason Taylor.
Right. Fuck. Sorry. Yeah, I was just.
That's
thinking
okay.
That was going to be my next.
He's the next option.
Yeah.
That's what we're thinking
too.
So I'm pulling up Justin Fields with Cole Kmet right now because Cole Kmet had a pretty decent year. That year as well. So I think like that's the only other place we can really mine some value from. And it's not a bet of all the rookie tight ends. This is the one like I'm least interested in betting on, right?
Dynasty.
It was pretty interesting because in Dynasty and startup drafts, it's like Mason Taylor was consistently going ahead of Terrence Ferguson. He was consistently going ahead of Elijah Arroyo. I always thought that was insane.
Yes.
I think tight end involvement too isn't always necessarily quarterback. Sometimes like coaches and play callers just don't have a big role for tight end in their scheme as well. So that's kind of an interesting note too. With Fields.
when we were talking about Mason Taylor on the undrafted today, Andrew Cooper brought up a player that was drafted in the 2nd round by the Cincinnati Bengals, Drew Sample. He brought up the name. He wasn't making a comparison specifically for Mason Taylor, but he was saying blocking matters, and maybe Mason Taylor's a little bit more of a blocking threat to, which, dude, the numbers would say so because we don't like the analytical profile of Mason Taylor, in terms of targets per route run, first downs per route run, yards per route run, like nothing. Yards per catch. It's not like he even rips big plays. Yards after catch. None of those things are good. ADOT, bad. Everything is bad. Right.
Drew, that's a death knell comp right there.
Bingo. And I was like, wow, this is not crazy that maybe they view Mason Taylor as like this, like in line, put him on the line, blocking tight end. They do have Stone Smart, who's more of that type of run the seam player, who is actually really talented, catching the football when he was playing with the Chargers last year. I mean, in the limited stuff we saw him do, it was pretty impressive, actually. So who knows? Jeremy Ruckert pretty much has done nothing since being drafted in the 3rd round a few years ago. So I don't know. Look, I'm 0 shares and somewhat care about Mason Taylor, but I don't have any shares. I'm kind of curious to see what'll happen. I'm open to anything happening here. I really think that he has a pathway to 100 targets if he's good at all. I just don't know if he's any good.
Yeah.
All right. If Breece Hall, I think we can all agree, has dropped to a point where he's completely, I think, undervalued.
So
not only that, this is a contract year, so he's probably going to be on a different team next year.
With a contract.
He's got receiving ability. He's explosive, proven that he can be kind of a workhorse back. I think like we all kind of agree Breece Hall is great and probably underrated. My question is this. Who is the backup you want? Is it Braylon Allen or is it Isaiah Davis?
It's Braylon Allen for sure. It's Braylon Allen because I don't think that they are going to I don't think Isaiah Davis, if Breece Hall goes down for an extended period, I don't think Isaiah Davis is going to be the only guy getting targets, right? I think that some of the targets are going to be split between the two. Braylon Allen predominantly as the rusher. So I am kind of hanging my hat on. I hated Braylon Allen coming out, but he was actually pretty impressive last year when he got a shot. And so that's got me in on him being the backup. I think the regime's not tied to anybody, right? So it's really anyone's call, but I think Braylon Allen has
early on it was Braylon Allen, but last year down the stretch they preferred Isaiah Davis and he played better than Braylon Allen.
I noticed the same thing, and I think that he also looked better. I think he's your league average backup running back, right? But I do think that I think Braylon Allen has these spurts where he can look really good, but he's needs to be running on all cylinders and completely healthy. And I think if he gets banged up at all, he becomes kind of like this not very useful asset.
Yep.
I mean, Isaiah Davis on just let's go rudimentary here, right? He had over 5 yards of carry and Braylon Allen had under 4 yards of carry. So that's something. Obviously, big difference in their workload, right? Braylon had 3 times more rush attempts, right? But Isaiah Davis also 9 receptions, 75 yards. He had a total of 2 touchdowns. Braylon had a total of 3 touchdowns. I don't know. I don't think it's that. I just don't know that there's a huge disparity. Like on my teams with Breece Hall, you guys know me. I like handcuffs, right? And I'm just like, do I even want to bother getting Braylon Allen? Is he even the guy? I'm not convinced he is. I'd rather have Isaiah Davis. And also, this is one of those what do you win when you win situations, right?
Yeah,
it's like, are either of them good?
Bingo.
So, all right. So I think we've covered the Jets pretty thoroughly. Fields, Wilson, Breece Hall, maybe Mason Taylor.
I think because of all this, there's a lot of Garrett Wilson fade. Maybe time to go buy Garrett Wilson. I mean, things will even if it's bad this year. Even if it's bad this year, it's probably the last year of it. Well, not the last year of it being bad, but the last year of it being this.
Well, dude, and if we look at he has dipped to the wide receiver 13 in startup ADP per Dynasty Data Lab. I looked at on their site back at this time last year, he was the wide receiver 7. So he's dipped to the wide receiver 13. His situation hasn't really gotten worse, I think some of that was on the back of Aaron Rodgers coming in there, but Aaron Rodgers coming in there was never a huge dynasty value booster. It was more of a 2024 booster. And last year he actually had his best season in that dog shit organization that they had in New York. He finished as the wide receiver 19 in points per game, so not as rosy, but I think there's some outs there potentially. I don't know, man. I think he is way undervalued for the talent that he is, and I'm buying that price as much as I can.
Yeah, and that was with Devontae Adams on the team. I mean, there's no target competition to speak of with.
Well, Devontae wasn't there yet
when he got there. Whatever, a quarter of the way through the season, right?
Halfway.
Yeah.
No target competition to speak of this year with a quarterback that has proven to, completely lock in on one wide receiver or check down or run. So I don't know. I think it's a bullish scenario. They've got a good offensive line. I think they might not be that bad from a real football standpoint. And bad offenses support the number one wide receiver on their team all the time. I mean, I think his floor is like, I think McLaurin every year aside from last season. It's like, well, that's a rock solid wide receiver 2. And, he's got the potential to be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're fading Garrett Wilson, you're fading a player that's had 147, 168, and 154 targets in their first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 yards every season, 83, 95, and 101 catches last year. I mean, you just don't get that ever. You just don't see that. I'm actually going to go check on StatHead and see who's ever done that. This is rarefied air. And for him to be wide receiver 13 with that type of target earning ability in said Yahoo mock dynasty startup draft I started with Malik Nabers, who we're going to talk about shortly. Second round, CeeDee Lamb falls. Third round, Garrett Wilson falls. I have literally in that mock Nabers, Lamb, and Garrett Wilson. If you can get that type of start in a startup, I mean, come on, what are we doing? That's like targets for days at 3 wide receiver spots. So yeah, Garrett Wilson in that third round is just awesome.
Yeah. So Jax, just a little bit of a deviation here, but bear with me. You and I are both UFC guys, and shout out to Dustin Poirier, who just retired this past weekend. Had a great fight with Max Holloway. Good. He didn't come out on top, but it was still like a great scrap. And that fight was in New Orleans, which is where Dustin Poirier is from. And we're going to talk about the New Orleans Saints. It was
by the way, if that second round were 30 seconds longer, I think Dustin Poirier wins the fight.
Yeah, I wish he got the ghillie. Yes. That would have been so good.
So close. But Max Holloway is such a fucking warrior. He's so good. Baller. It's so hard to take him out.
Yeah. So while Joe sits there feeling like a third wheel, I'll bring us back to the New Orleans Saints.
You got to love Poirier, though. Hold on. I don't get to talk about it much, but Poirier, dude, this is the guy that you get him in deep waters, and
that's the guy. Drink.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. But he's the guy that gets in deep waters and brings you in with him, and he's like, I like this. I'm fine. Like, he gets rocked twice, once in the first round, once in the second round, and he just doesn't fucking stop, dude. And then he had Holloway in trouble immediately after being in like really fucking hurt. And I think that's just, I mean, he does it every time. Like, that's how he wins so many fights. Guys think, I got this motherfucker. And it's like, surprise, you don't have shit, bro. I'm a fucking cuckoo bird. It's so impressive because you got to think the mentality and the toughness you need to do that type of stuff at the highest level against these type of fighters is fucking ridiculous. So anyway, just Dustin Poirier, I will miss you.
Totally. I think we would need a similar heart and spirit for the New Orleans Saints to be anything of substance for us in 2025, because it's looking bleak. But new era with Kellen Moore as the head coach. Derek Carr retired. They seem like they're not. It seems like they've not been sure whether they should rebuild for the past few years, or like
decade.
Like we see them as a team that needs rebuilding, but they just don't see it yet. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of, a sad story for those Saints fans. But I think we have to analyze what's there, and what's there is not Derek Carr at the quarterback position, but it is the vaunted combination of one Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler, who are going to be in one of the most heated camp battles of the offseason, boys. And so, Joe, I see you're chomping at the bit, and we just went down our little UFC diatribe there. So I want you to talk to me about the dynasty. We could probably wrap them both into one. The dynasty outlook for both Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler, and that's kind of the longer term, and then how you're treating them both right now.
First of all, I just pulled up the Saints depth chart on Player Profiler, and it's got these great headshots of all of them. And I'm just looking at the quarterbacks, Rattler, Shuck, and Hayner, and it looks like they're like called me into a meeting and want to talk to me about the Book of Mormon. That's the vibes I'm getting. The answer is probably no on all of them. I think Rattler got a really, really tough assignment last year. Once he got the starting gig, it's like, Shaheed was injured. Olave was injured. Bub Means got hurt. I mean, he was scraping the bottom of the barrel, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, see, Spencer Rattler stinks." And it's just like, well, I don't know that that's the case. I know that the guys he's throwing to stinks.
He had
So
paddle hands.
yeah, exactly. And that's so Shuck he was the butt of a lot of jokes in the draft season, and then he started getting this buzz. I mean, he's like a sixth year senior, something like that. He was Justin Herbert's backup, seventh year, eighth year,
Seventh-year Jacks, mother
yeah,
of God.
yeah, exactly. So the answer is probably no on all of them. I think it's going to be sort of a rotating door. I think all three of these guys, you're leaving out Jake Hayner.
Yeah.
I think all three of these guys are going to start games for the Saints this year. And I think whether they want to or not, they're rebuilding, right? They're going to lose a lot of games and they're rebuilding unless Shuck just completely shocks the world. I just don't. I don't see it for any of them. I'm definitely not making bets on any of them. I think I'm most bullish on Rattler, but that's just partially because I think he got such a bad draw last year that I'm rooting for him. I don't know. That's my bias kind of poking through.
Total same boat. I lean Rattler, actually. Jax?
Yeah, I mean, skip it. I mean, honestly, I can't find a nice thing to say about Tyler Shuck other than some scouts liked him. Look, if this guy pans out, come on. I mean, what the odds are just so low of this guy being, a top 25 NFL quarterback. It's so hard to see. And same thing with Rattler. I mean, I don't know. What are we doing? What are we doing here?
What
Shuck's
we're doing
upside seems like Derek Carr to me, right?
Not
it's another. What do you win when you win?
Not even. Derek Carr was good for a few seasons.
Derek Carr was good. I mean, his ceiling feels like Brandon Whedon. I mean, it's like, what are we even talking
about? We are doing, Jax, is we're moving on to talk about the pass catchers and how
which are good.
Because Chris Olave, like one of the cheapest alphas in Dynasty right now, he's the wide receiver 29. Tyreek Hill actually goes behind him at wide receiver 31, who is probably the only cheaper alpha. We talked about him. I think it was last week we talked about him. Obviously, Chris Olave's list of injuries is vast, but he is only 25. He's got a couple top 24 seasons under his belt, despite those injuries, and he's got a ton of talent, right? And then they got Rasheed Shaheed. He's that kind of deep threat speedster, been a little bit of a one-trick pony, but that one trick has been extra fun. And so what do you make of these guys too? They brought in Brandon Cooks as well, who could be a bit of a factor, the old former Saint. But Joe, why don't you kick us off on how these pass catchers are going to shake out and mainly focus, I guess, on Olave's dynasty stock?
Real quick, who do you think has a higher yards per route run number? Rasheed Shaheed or Chris Olave?
Shaheed's is fat. Shaheed's is fat for sure. I saw it today. Sorry.
Well, in 2024, it was Olave edged him out 2.26 to 2.17.
Okay.
Who do you think has a higher targets per route run number?
That's the one, Shaheed.
Yeah. Edges him out barely, 0.25 to 0.24. I seem to recall an episode of The Undrafted, probably middle of last year, Jax, that you did. I can't remember who the guest was, but you guys were kind of comparing Shaheed and Olave and more or less making the point that, like, is Olave definitively better than Shaheed?
Yes.
I mean, he's a much more expensive fantasy asset, and he definitely has the pedigree, definitely has the college resume. Shaheed was a 7th round pick or undrafted. I can't remember. But like, it's so hard for a receiver to do what Shaheed has done with his non-existent draft capital to become now, like, no doubt the number 2 on this team. And like last year before he got hurt, he was playing like the number 1 on this team. So I think it's all a moot point because I think the quarterback play is going to be so bad that you're probably not like thrilled about either of them. But dude, I love Rasheed Shaheed. I like Olave a lot. I love Shaheed.
See, I'm not in the same boat. I think he's sweet. I think he's fun to watch and I think it's great, but I'm not somebody who like would be buying into him because I think it's always hard to see these guys who are one trick ponies get that increased workload, right? Like, I don't think he's going to get the reason why his targets per route run were so fat is because he only ran 161 routes on the entire season. And I know he was hurt, but like that, I don't think that's going to extrapolate necessarily to him having a fat season as a focal point of this passing offense. Because I think if he starts to get used in other areas of the field, he might not be the best option. You know what I mean? He could get exposed as somebody who can't do all that. So I just worry a little bit about buying into it because he did play 6 games and it did look really good last year. But I think he's not a guy who's necessarily designed to be a focal point of the offense. And I don't think, even if we had Derek Carr as the quarterback, I don't think we're going to want the Saints wide receiver 2 across a full season if we're talking about Olave being healthy. But that's a huge if for sure. Like, this is in the best case scenario with Olave staying healthy. I probably don't want Rasheed. So I think wanting Rasheed is kind of a bet on Olave not being healthy.
I mean, even if you look at including his rookie or his first year, I guess he was a rookie, Shaheed, that is. So 22, 23, 24, he's still about 19% targets per route run, 190 or whatever, 119, as opposed to 24 last year. Is that what you said? 25%. So he's grown as a player. Like, they've trusted him more and more. He only played 6 games last year, but he did have an 11 target game, a 9 target game. Like, he was growing even into last year. There hasn't been good quarterback play. There likely won't be good quarterback play yet again, which somewhat limits Shaheed as a player, because Shaheed is the type of player that if he was on a good team with a good quarterback and good other players, it'd be like, oh my God, dude, he's wide open for touchdowns. He's making big plays. Here, he might even be wide open. What's the odds that someone sees him? And then if they do see him, what's the odds that they're able to get it to him? Those are a lot of heavy odds with the Tyler Shuck experience. And if he can't, then you bring in Spencer Rattler. Is he any better? Jake Hayner, headshot and all, I don't think he's able to, maybe he could, sell you the Book of Mormon. I don't know what he could do, but, I don't think hitting Shaheed is one of the things that any of these quarterbacks can do. So, for that reason, I had Shaheed kind of penciled in on a number of deep dynasty leagues where he was going to play in a number of flex positions for me this coming year. And now I'm looking at going, I'm not so sure I can trust it, because if you're in a deep league where you're starting 12 or something, you have those 4 flex spots. You love throwing guys in who are erratic. It's fine. Whether it's a Marvin Mims, the Jamison Williams types, Rasheed Shaheed, easy for me to
Tough
say.
one.
Those types of players are perfect because it's almost like a best ball play. Hey, give me a couple big weeks. I'm going to be fine. That'll help me win a week. The difference between 2 points and 8 points most weeks is not a big difference, in deep leagues. But if he can pop for 25, he can win me a week. Anyway, long story short, those are going to be fewer and farther between, I think, with the worst quarterback play. With Derek Carr, it wasn't amazing, but it was certainly sufficient. Now it's not at all. So I think you've got major problems with all these weapons, including the ones we'll get to in the backfield. I think this team is going to go as the quarterback goes, and I don't think it's going to be very good. I've been wrong before, so I just don't see it.
So I'm just going to point out that Shaheed's stats last year are very largely buoyed by the fact that he caught a handful of deep touchdown passes, and Derek Carr, for all his flaws, got really good at throwing those when the Raiders drafted Henry Ruggs, right? And they're like, we're going to use Ruggs in this way. And like once every couple of weeks, he'd pop a deep one to Henry Ruggs. And he started using Shaheed kind of in the same manner that he used Ruggs once he got to New Orleans. So there are some big play touchdowns that really help these underlying metrics for Shaheed. And so that is the huge question, is like, can any of these quarterbacks do that? I think Shaheed's profile is like perfect for that second or third flex option, right? Awesome best ball play, because dude's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. His 40 time, like, whatever. He didn't really run a 40 at the combine. I don't think he was invited. So we don't really know, but like his play speed is ridiculous. He had 4 weeks out of the 6 games he played. He had 4 weeks last year where he finished as a wide receiver 2. That's consistent, right? That's good. He had one goose egg in there and then 4 games where he finished as like the wide receiver 18 or better. There's the special teams component as well. Like I think this dude is really good, and
He
I
might
think
be.
we're still gonna be in limbo this year
Yep.
because of how bad the quarterback play is. But I think he's just a legitimately really good player. You don't get to where he is with the pedigree that he had without, earning it. And he earns targets. He was undrafted, by the way.
Yes, he was.
He earns targets at a very high clip, and has kind of just found money for the
He was,
Saints.
as you point out, he's 24% target rate on 18 ADOT. So
Yeah.
pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But to me, that means that they're like only using him downfield and they're only looking for the deep shot, right? And out of a guy who I want to see an ascension from, I want to see more versatility from that, right?
Totally.
Like,
Yep.
Trav,
I just don't know if
you're
it's gonna be there.
100% right. I want to just go on record here and say, Olave is a wide receiver that works in any offense, right? With
Yes.
any type of quarterback, this dude's going to
Yes.
earn the same amount of targets, right? He's going to be very good. I mean, he earned, in his first 2 seasons, he earned 119, 138 targets, 72 and 87 receptions, right? Last year he gets hurt. It's kind of a weird year. He had multiple concussions. So, we'll throw that one out, even though that's a huge concern.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, like, in the games that they played, just based on last season, Shaheed outplayed him pretty significantly, not in terms of total yardage, but in terms of like per game and efficiency. Like, it was pretty damn close. So I don't know. I think Olave's really good and an asset you probably want. I think he's undervalued. I'm just saying I think Shaheed's undervalued as well. And I think they're both going to remain undervalued because of the bad situation. Here's the actual fantasy and particularly dynasty advice, right? If you're a rebuilding team, I think you can go get either of these guys for way less than what they're actually worth right now. And I
Yes.
think that they're worth trying to acquire if 2025 is going to be a non-competitive year for you anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair enough.
Good point.
Yeah.
Do we want to touch on these running backs here? Because I think Kamara
Briefly,
obviously taken most of that work. So as long as he's healthy, I think he is undervalued also, as a guy who is probably going to get some of those dump off targets from the scared rookie quarterback or Spencer Rattler. And obviously Kellen Moore is a nice addition at play caller for Kamara. I think Kendre Miller and Devin Neal are kind of the interesting conversation as far as dynasty stashes. Joe, you informed me that Cam Akers is still on an NFL team and be
this
with
one,
the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah,
as is Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Velus Jones.
Oh my God. Velus Jones is a wide receiver.
And Marcus Yarns. There's so much cucking on this running back team. I feel like I'm being put in a like penalty timeout with all my favorite. Like, I was a Kendre Miller fan, Cam Akers fan. Like, this is really embarrassing. Now Devin Neal, it's like, dude, I mean, Kamara is just like, he's got a whole herd of just people who are sitting behind him watching him play. It's brutal.
What is Kamara doing here? Why did they resign him? Why is he here?
Unbelievable.
It doesn't make any sense.
Please trade Alvin Kamara.
It's them not knowing whether they're a rebuilder or not, basically.
They are.
It's a crime. Alvin Kamara is still good. And boy, there's going to be a lot of just empty calorie stats here that he's going to soak up. I think the most likely scenario here is like Cam Akers is going to just absolutely sandbag both Kendre Miller and Devin Neal.
Damn it.
Probable.
You're so right. It sucks.
It's probable.
They're basically stashes that you can't plan on starting for at least another year, if not longer.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. What the answer? We don't know. Take shots. Take shots. Go ahead. Take shots at Devin Neal. Don't overpay.
Do not overpay for anything here.
No.
Yeah.
100%.
If you got Kendre Miller, hold on. If you got Cam Akers, you probably have a dude that's going to be startable a couple times.
You literally can't trade these guys for anything. None of them. So you're holding everything here.
I would be acquiring Devin Neal because he's the only guy who's been brought in by this.
Sure. You can buy any of them. I'm saying you can't sell any of them.
Oh yeah. And I probably wouldn't sell him if I just drafted him either.
You can't sell any of them though. None of. I mean, Kamara maybe you can still sell.
I think you could.
You can sell Kamara.
So I was looking at Dynasty Daddy at some Kamara trades that are out there since we're kind of talking about it. Just because I've been using Dynasty Daddy a little bit more,
it's
and
cool
it's
for that
fucking
reason.
dope, by the way, to be able to look up the trades and stuff. Really nice interface. So shout out. Alvin Kamara just today went for 2 second-round picks, a 26 and a 27. I think I'm keeping Kamara on that.
Well, if I'm selling, that's a great price.
I guess so, yeah, I guess. Alvin Kamara for Jalen Warren in a second. I think that's a good little sell price. I'm not a huge
Great
Warren
price.
believer, but there's a lot of believers out there, so you could flip them.
It's possible Warren outscores Kamara this year. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. You get the player that outscores him plus a pick.
Kamara and a 2 for Josh Jacobs. Give me the Kamara side on that.
No, I'll take Jacobs.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's
I'm on the Kamara side.
Okay.
I'm trying to find like the ones that don't have 7 per side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kamara and Ramondre for 2 seconds. I am smashing the Kamara and Ramondre side.
Yes.
Okay. This one's a little bigger. Oh, here we go. Kamara for Tyjae Spears in a second. Give me Kamara.
Yeah.
Give me Kamara.
I'm on the Kamara side unless even if I'm a rebuilding team, that's not
a real good rebuild. Yeah.
Exactly. No. Okay, this is a fun one with Tyjae. Tyjae's on the same side as Kamara though. Tyjae, Kamara, and a first for Omari and Hampton.
Give me the Hampton side.
Yeah,
you kind of have to
for sure. Kamara and Fields for Kenneth Walker.
Kamara and Fields. Give me the Kenneth Walker side. I think
depends on a few different factors, but probably
sure. I'm assuming it's super flex. I'm assuming it's super flex, and that owner. I like how you're actually not wrapping in dudes that we're talking about today.
Yeah. Well, hey, Dynasty Daddy's doing that for me, brother.
Yeah.
Traders in the Dynasty landscape are doing that for me, actually.
You're assuming Fields is a 1-year rental. You're assuming Kamara is maybe, on his last legs as well. And you're getting Kenneth Walker, who you still hope has a couple years of runway. I think I'd do that.
Yeah, the Kamara side must have just needed a quarterback real bad. And
it's not a bad way to get one because you get replacement of your Kenneth Walker production this year, potentially, plus a quarterback, plus a potential top 10 quarterback. It's pretty cool.
I'm assuming if you're making that trade, you probably have other quarterbacks you trust more than Justin Fields as well.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. And the other guy didn't. And
Okay, back to the Meadowlands, guys. We're going to talk about the New York Giants. And then we got the Cleveland Browns, and we're going to push the Steelers to next week's bonus episode. All right, fellas?
Yes.
So
we gotta let the ayahuasca kick in before we start talking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it needs time to ferment in there or whatever. So there is a new level of optimism in the Big Apple with the New York Giants, guys. They had that huge draft where they picked up Abdul Carter, hopped back into that first round for a cup of tea, drafting Jackson Dart. They also added Cam Scatterbo, as well as both Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson still in this quarterback room. What do we think, guys? Because I think, do we want to start with Malik Nabers? Because he's probably the safest option. Probably knock him.
Hold on a minute. You're burying the lead here.
Who am I burying?
A few weeks ago, maybe a month ago.
His name?
Hold on. Yeah. No, hold on. Hold on.
A
few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I mentioned a player's name, and Joe said, "Who?" And then now he's the number 1 trending player on Sleeper's Trend, Thomas Fidone. Have you noticed?
Yeah, fucking.
What do you mean?
This
is like you don't think I affect ADPs out here in the streets? Like I was the guy adding Fidone, and you were like, "Who is this Fidone?" And then you looked him up. Remember the RAS score 9.86, whatever.
Oh,
and you
yeah.
were like, add. And now that we've added him in every league and every single taxi squad that you and I have somewhere in that league, we're rostering where someone else is. Now he's the number 1 ad in Sleeper's trending.
You are 100% the Fidone leader, right? There's no question about it. Yeah. And I give all credit to you. I don't even think we talked about that on the show. I think you showed us some screenshot of your most owned rookies, and I was like,
who the fuck is Fidone? I was like, shh, don't say a word. This is my secret.
And then you're like, oh shit. And then in one of our leagues, I went to go add him real quick, and then you outbid me for him because you knew I was going to do that.
Yes, I probably bid 69 too if I did. I guarantee it was 69. Yeah, I'm getting them.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to have buried the lead there. Now that we got Thomas Fidone out of the way, they do have this guy named Malik Nabers. I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
Also good.
pretty good
Jackson
player.
might have led the charge on that one too.
Yeah.
Thank you. I did have that wide receiver 1. Thank you
Hey,
so much.
I would like to add that I did as well. I'd like
Of
to add that I
course.
did as well.
Look, of course. It was funny though, early on when I did this, people were like, "Oh, clicks. Look at this clickbait jerk." I was like, "Wait, no, that's not at all what this. I'm actually a little bit shy about this take, so, give me some credit at least for taking my towel off."
Yeah. But what Malik Nabers did was come in and put up the wide receiver 6 season as a rookie. 170 targets, guys, over 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. I think there's still upward motion on that, boys. Do you guys think that there's still room for upward motion on what he did as a rookie, Joe?
I see people ranking Malik Nabers as like the number 7 receiver in Dynasty. I see them ranking
Wrong.
him like outside of the top 5. And I'm like, what are you doing? If you see that, if you see anybody ranking Malik Nabers outside of the top 5, unfollow them. Just like stop listening to Malik Nabers. There are 2 guys in the world I would rather have as my wide receiver than Malik Nabers. That's possibly going to change this year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a fellow LSU dudes. Like Malik Nabers is the wide receiver 3 in Dynasty or better. His rookie year was so outrageously good. Target share. I mean, I don't know. Where should we start? 32% target share, targets per route run, 0.32, not surprisingly. 1,200 yards. He missed a handful of games too, right? He only played 15 games and he had 1,200 yards as a rookie. It's out of this world. It's almost it's dumb to talk about. It's dumb to talk about. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yes. So I don't know. Somebody else say something because it breaks my brain.
It's getting better for him too.
About, yeah. Huh?
He's so good. He's so good. And, here's the thing. It's like we can get a little excited because there's a potential that he is now being joined by a young, precocious, skilled quarterback who has proven to unlock deep targets to Trey Harris and had him at 5.17 yards per route run at the college level. Oh, I know. It was a gimmicky offense. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. Then run the same fucking offense in New York then. Whatever. It's like, obviously I'm joking. But I understand, but still, like he can throw it downfield. He's got moxie, dart that is. So if he can unlock, a sort of extended run of efficiency for Malik Nabers, that's the key to him being like a legit, obvious, wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. I think I have him at wide receiver 1. I don't really think I would do that. I don't think I'd be taking him ahead of Jamar Chase, but like as a homage to how great Malik Nabers is, I just put him at wide receiver 1 because I also don't think it's crazy to consider doing it because he's so much younger. He's 21 years old. Like you get a lot more of this for a lot longer. And he did it with bad quarterback play last year. So he can probably withstand some bad quarterback play. Like there were times like, what was it? 170 targets he got in like 15 games. Crazy. There were times that I know I was watching the game because he's like my favorite, I was like, this is crazy how well this is running out from my take. But like there were times like, because I have him kind of a lot of spots and, he was winning leagues for me because you add him to a good team and it's like, holy shit, look at this. I would watch those Giants games and they would like target him on like little 3-yard hitches. And I'd be like, what? Don't do this. Do not do.
You're
he
doesn't break him. Stop breaking him.
And they did break him.
When he got hurt early in the season, it was like they overused him. They crashed the sports car already.
Yeah. They're like, use it to park on the curb too. You're like, no, just fucking racetrack only. Like, use the other guys to park on the curb. It's like, yes, like we have Wan'Dale Robinson. Throw him the little 2-yard hitch and let him get hit. It doesn't matter if he gets hurt. You can just get another one of those. Like it's a scooter. Just get another scooter. You can only afford one Ferrari. Like don't fuck it up. It's exactly right.
Yeah. I think that's kind of well wrapped on Malik Nabers because he is everything. Draft him in your first round. He will pay off. Other wide receivers, you mentioned Wan'Dale. They got Darius Slayton still there. They probably got some other guys too. I don't even know. Like
Jalen
any of
Hyatt.
like Wan'Dale Robinson got 133 targets in 2024, which was absolutely wild. The shitty part was he only gave you 699 yards on those, and so it was pretty low upside. I think if he gets 133 targets, I would be betting for more yards than that in 2025, just with an offense that's a little bit more settled with Malik Nabers. And even if we look at Russell Wilson can keep these guys stable as well too, despite our thoughts on him. So I think everything's looking fine in New York. And I don't think Wan'Dale's getting that amount of targets, but Dable showed that he trusts him to play heavy snaps as that slot guy. So I think he's going to continue to do that in 2025. I also just love Darius Slayton because he's an incredible deep threat, but we don't really want him taking deep shots because we want Malik getting those.
I mean, that's fine. He can serve that purpose. Wan'Dale, if I'm not mistaken, is the origin. He is the reason for the adding the term PPR scam to the fantasy lexicon, right? Just because he's gonna get just a bunch of catches and not do much with them, and we're just gonna take his 6 points or whatever and plug it into our flex. But yeah, no, there's not really much else that I'm interested in from a dynasty or fantasy perspective. I think Wan'Dale's rosterable. I think Darius Slayton is rosterable, but you're in some dire straits if you're counting on these dudes, right? It's Malik Nabers and the number 2 option that I'm concerned with as a pass catcher on this team is not a wide receiver. It's my boy, the dude that Fedoni is going to have to beat out.
Enough with that Fedoni baloney.
Yes,
exactly. This is right here. I don't know about you guys, but where I am, this is a Theo Johnson household.
Yeah.
He was my tight end 2 last season. He did nothing to concern me about that. He did have a foot injury, which cost him, the second half of the year. But as a rookie, dude was producing right away. So I'm very firmly in the Theo Johnson is the secondary receiving piece on the Giants that you want. No further questions.
Yep. No, I agree. I was looking at our lads and he is tops on the depth chart listed there. And I like him as well as one of those sleeper tight ends. So well put there, Joe.
yeah.
Jax, anything on Theo?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I was doing some digging for Scott Fishbowl, and I was surprised. Theo Johnson, was earning targets and he's really good. So I agree. I don't like Russell Wilson for him as he doesn't really target tight ends, but once Jackson Dart gets out there, I think it's gonna be wheels up.
Well, not only that, but Theo Johnson can be a deep threat, right? He can be a recipient of some of those moon balls as well,
Some
right?
of
It's
those
not just
seams.
Darius Slayton, right? He runs a 4.57. Yeah, he was, if I'm not mistaken, Raz score. I think he's the most athletic tight end
Yeah.
ever.
That's what got you all bricked up, Joe, last year. I remember.
That's absolutely what got me very excited about him. And he was earning by his last 4 games that he played last season, he got 6, 6, 6, and 5 targets.
Yeah.
Before he went down with that injury. That's good enough.
Yeah.
That's great.
Totally.
Yeah.
Back end tight end 1 in his range for sure. So these running backs, guys, I'm still not sold on Cam Scatabo being the running back 1. I think Tyrone Tracy is going to be mega involved, and I think the camp reports are saying that as well from what I've seen. But what are you guys seeing? Any pulses shifting on your thoughts for Cam Scatabo? Jax, how about you?
I don't know what to make of it. We'll see. Our lads is usually pretty good, finger on the pulse. They've got Tyrone Tracy, then Devin Singletary, then Cam Scatabo, which makes sense. I don't think Cam Scatabo comes in and commands the room from day one, but I don't think that he's also the type of player that's going to, gracefully take a back seat. I think he thinks he's the best. He said it, man. He thought he should win the Heisman. He was like, I'm the best running back in the country. He was speaking unironically when he said this stuff. So the confidence is there. Obviously, his negative, the drawback is he does, pack his own lunch and bring it to work with him in his lunch pail. So that part is going to be difficult. That's going to be difficult to overcome in the NFL. But if the coaches can see past the Hulk lunchbox, he's got a chance.
I mean, he's never short on ham sandwiches, so
No.
he's definitely a locker room chemistry guy for sure, because you'll be sitting around Cam Scatabo having a ham sandwich for sure.
Yes.
I think my issue with him is his ability to kind of break away from tackles, break away from tacklers. But I think on some volume, despite that, he can be a viable running back 2-3 kind of fence riding guy. But yeah, he needs some things to go his way by way of Tyrone Tracy looking like shit this year. I think that would go a long way for Cam Scatabo, but I don't know if that's going to happen because Tracy has a skill set that puts him in pretty good situations as well.
There's plenty. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
I don't think it's Tracy's skill set that is in question, right? I think Tracy's a very dynamic, interesting running back for a dude that's still pretty new to the position, right? I like Tyrone Tracy a lot. He put the ball on the ground too many times last year, and that is something that coaches hate. I also challenge the notion about like Cam Scadabo's tackle breaking. And I don't think that's what you meant to say, but I don't want that message to be conveyed. He's an elite tackle
running
breaker,
away from tacklers.
He did say running away, but yes, that's right.
At least, at the college level, he was, he's really he's an EPA play. He's an EPA per play running back, right? He's not going to be a big play dude. He's going to be I need a dude to go get me 5 yards right here and consistently get me, keep the chains moving type of running back. Whereas Tyrone Tracy is like the home run hitting type of running back. So
you think about the ceiling. You think about the ceiling for Scatabo being like Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery. Like that's the if he's really good, he's one of those types of players.
Yeah, but better at catching passes. But yes, I think that's kind of what we're talking about. I think they are complementary players. I think they can both be startable fantasy assets. I have concerns about the Giants O-line outside of like Andrew Thomas and John Runyon. Like there are problems on the rest of that offensive line. And so in ways, I think Scadabo's kind of better suited for an environment like that, but he's, we've got to make sure there's not a knucklehead factor there, right? There were rumors about that.
You sure you're not a John Michael Schmitz Jr. fan?
That's my name too.
John Michael Schmitz Jr. and also Greg Van Rotten, also on that offensive line.
That's a pretty damn good offensive lineman name,
that is a
right?
Good offensive lineman name.
He can't be a quarterback. Nobody named Van Rotten could be a quarterback. No. He could be a fullback. He could be an offensive lineman or like a
D-tackle.
A linebacker. A linebacker. He could play linebacker.
Yeah.
But Van Rotten,
So I'm just saying. I mean, there's you're obviously not a fan.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I've never heard of him.
They have a guy named Jermaine Elumuner, which is almost like they saw that Elamainer got drafted and they just changed the name a little bit and like, we're not copying him at all. It's like a really weird. It's crazy. That offensive line, a lot of names I've never heard before. So,
so I think to boil it down, the running backs are going to be a little bit tricky to pin down, but you're probably going to be okay with Tyrone Tracy and Scatabo as a tandem. Devin Singletary is probably just going to end up coming in and fucking it all up anyway because he's a Dable guy, which is hilarious. I've been a Singletary fan before, so I would like to see that.
Motor.
What's that?
Motor.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we got to get Motor on the team, bro.
Yeah,
remember he's that off season, bro.
So the last team we're going to talk about, fitting to finish on this, considering the title of the show was like bad, right? The Cleveland Steaming Browns. They had an interesting offseason. Obviously, there's always turmoil around this team. Deshaun Watson still lurks in the shadows somewhere there. The owner
sure does.
The owner is sure does. The owner is still meddling probably as usual, but I think there's some decent pieces here if some of these dominoes fall, because like the quarterback position is in flux. I think Joe Flacco is probably the clubhouse leader to start, with Shadur Sanders looking decent in camp with potential to actually be the quarterback too on this team. Dylan Gabriel is still there and Kenny Pickett is there as well. So we'll see as we move through camp. What do you guys think?
Remember
Yeah.
the season when Deshaun Watson was up like 24-0 on Mahomes early in the first half of that playoff game?
Oh,
What year was
man.
that? What year was that? Like 22?
2022.
Something like
Right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine it's 2022. That game is on TV, and I lean over to you and I go, "Hey, dude, in 3 years, Deshaun Watson's going to be the 5th string quarterback on the Cleveland Browns in 2025."
Deshaun Watson is going to be unquestionably the worst quarterback in Browns history.
Yeah.
And the 5th string quarterback behind, like, you'd be like,
yeah.
"What the dude? You're smoking," and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Yes, but no, yeah."
Mhm. Yeah, and the Texans are going to pay to get rid of him.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, really.
Crazy. It's crazy. So looking
right,
at
so-
the plan, what is the plan? What do you think the plan is at quarterback? Do you think that Flacco to maybe Shadur down the road plan is the most likely, Joe, or what do you think?
I mean, I guess I want to frame it a different way. Over under on number of games that Shadur Sanders starts is, I think, what is probably the most interesting question, both for this room and this team.
What are you setting it at?
I'm going to say 4.5.
Under.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I think
Yeah, I
I'm
was going to
going
say
over.
2.5 when you asked me the number in my head.
I think this team's going nowhere fast, and it's going to become really hard. I mean, listen, Flacco is going to
Keep them
probably
afloat?
support. Yeah, he's going to keep them afloat from a statistical standpoint, I think, for a little while. I don't know. I just think it's going to be like almost a Jameis situation where it's like, this is just too many picks, and why don't we see what we have in these rookies? I think Gabriel and Sanders play. I think the book is more or less written on Pickett. They probably want him to be the guy secretly, but he's
Honestly.
not going to be.
Right.
So,
exactly. They're so
yeah.
stupid. Yeah.
So
Did you hear
really,
Deontay Johnson said that Kenny Pickett will likely be the starter, which is reason enough to bet against Kenny Pickett right there.
Trustworthy source right there.
Yeah, exactly.
well, hey,
right.
and Deontay knows Kenny. He had a pretty damn good year with Kenny.
He's rooting for Kenny for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's this is a self-interest type of vote right there.
Yeah. How many games did Deontay Johnson start?
I think, you know what? I think I saw something that said that this is his 5th team in the last 12 months that he's been on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
Steelers,
that's
Panthers,
true.
Texans, Browns, Ravens.
And Ravens. Yeah. Holy cow. He was on the Ravens twice in that time.
The guy 2 years ago that had like 160 targets.
It's
like,
insane.
yeah,
what
dude.
the fuck happened?
Incredible.
Hey?
It's incredible.
You see him on the draft board right now, and it's like, I should be fucking taking him right now.
I took him in the Scott Fish Bowl second to last round. I mean, I was like, come on. What? He could come out in week 1 and have 10 targets.
It's
like, that's possible.
Dude has been nothing but a target earner every time he plays for every team he's played for, right?
Except in the last 12 months.
Yeah,
no, even last year. What are you talking about? As soon as Andy Dalton came in last year, Deontay Johnson started putting up wide receiver 1 numbers, wide receiver 2 numbers. He was good, and then they traded him midseason, and then he was just a ghost and got cut. And he's got to be like just an all-time asshole.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Got to be an all-time prick. Right. Yes.
Yeah. For him to get run out of so many teams last year. So I don't know. I can't think of a wide receiver that cost himself more money without committing a crime.
Right.
Good
it's
call.
so true. It's like Juju Smith-Schuster, like that type of thing. Like really bad.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I mean, where are we though? Let's just jump to the receivers, because if we've got this rotating door at quarterback between these 4 dudes not named Deshaun Watson, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. Like, I'm super bullish on Cedric Tillman, the player. I think we saw a window after Amari Cooper got traded last year. It seemed like they traded him because they're like, we want to put this guy in at X. He's physically comparable to a Nico Collins. And dude, we saw that for 3 games. In that period, he was out producing Jerry Jeudy. Jameis kind of like locked onto him. And granted, it's Jameis, so we're going to get, inflated stats to a certain extent, but like caught a handful of touchdowns, including a game winner, if I'm not mistaken. So like definitely got trusted. Gets a real bad concussion, misses a couple weeks, and then he kind of comes back, but isn't the same after that. Judy has kind of been entrenched as like the number one receiver at that point. But from the jump, when Amari got traded, Tillman came in and immediately became the best receiver on this team until he got hurt. So I was bullish on Tillman as a rookie when he was coming in, even though he didn't have like great draft capital. I want to say he was a 3rd round
I
pick.
think so.
I've never been enthusiastic about Jerry Jeudy. So I like Tillman the best, and I've been buying him everywhere I can this offseason. I think it's a very thin bet, and it's one of the situations like with the Saints, right? We're just like, how good are any of these assets with what's happening in the quarterback room? But
Yeah.
I just saw an opportunity to buy what I believe to be a very good player who hasn't gotten a real extended shot as a starter and is about to do that for the first time.
Yeah, he was a 3rd round pick, and he's
Yep.
one of my favorite sleeper wide receivers for 2025. That quarterback situation does dull it a little bit, but I think Joe Flacco can keep 2 wide receivers afloat.
Yes, he can.
I think we're also not going to see the level of production from Jerry Jeudy that we saw last year because we're not going to have Jameis Winston. So if some of that Jerry Jeudy volume funnels elsewhere, I think Tillman could be a big beneficiary of that. And with that X profile that he is a very specific role and kind of a needed role for them, right? And so he has a spot that he's going to be in no matter what, and nobody really is taking that from him on this team, I don't think so.
I completely agree. He's on the field on every snap where there's a receiver on the field, right?
Yeah,
like that's
Judy's
I don't
not
think
going to be
that's
playing straight X. Deontay is going to be slot only in 3 wide sets.
Deontay can play X though, but I think you're right in terms of how they want to use him, and that's probably the best way to deploy him.
He's a different kind of X2 than Tillman, right? He's kind of one of those more kind of underneath after the catch X's where Tillman can embarrass some fools downfield.
Yeah, he's a get open right away kind of X, whereas like Tillman is I'm gonna stack you and beat you down the field kind of X. Yeah. Which is more of what you want.
I'll give you my 2 cents on this because this team actually is like frisky if they get quarterback play. Like, and I think Joe Flacco is just frisky enough if he's, and I say healthy, I just mean like he's old, dude. Like he's old, and so if he becomes a little like nicked up, where he's just not, in good, like if he's not feeling well, if his body isn't, holding up, then he's in trouble. But if he's slinging it, he can throw the ball downfield to all these weapons. I mean, you guys like Tillman. I love Tillman. Jerry Jeudy showed, look, he was a buy last year. We loved him because of the model, because of everything, and he played well. I think he's going to continue to play well. With Tillman, Jeudy, and Deontay Johnson, they have like, that's like that's
a good receiver.
It makes sense. Like Tillman's the X, Jerry Jeudy is the Z, Deontay's the slot. Like that's perfect. And then they have Njoku and Fannin. Like they've got like exactly what you're looking for. The running backs, as you point out. So I think as you go down this team, the offensive line, I mean, they've got some names I've heard of before. You know what I mean? Like, there's a couple of names there. I'm like, hey, I know those guys, like Jack Conklin or whatever.
Joel Bitonio still there? Joel Bitonio still there? Right on.
Yes, I'm like, he's like 100 years old, but like, let's go. So yeah, there's some guys I've heard of. Maybe they're good. I don't really know. I like literally don't know. But if the offensive line can hold it together a little bit in front of Flacco, which is a big if, because Flacco needs to be protected. So again, I don't know what this offensive line portends, but every offensive line has a chance. There's other guys that are like, backups that could, one of them's good, just like any other position. All of a sudden, they're fixed.
You see big swings. Yeah. You see big
swings
I don't know, offensive line from year to year for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think the team could be actually pretty good offensively. Like if Jameis were here, we'd be excited is my point.
My God, I'd be so excited if Jameis were here, and he should.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like he's going to get cut from New York and he's going to go somewhere shitty and be a backup when he could just be here.
It's so bad.
Yeah. My only point on Jerry Jeudy is he never earned more than 113 targets. That was his rookie year. In 22, he got 100 targets in. Last year, all of a sudden, he gets 144 targets. He had never gotten more than 67 receptions in a year before last year, where he got 90. never, got to 1,000 yards. The most he ever got to was 972 before last year, where he got 1,200. All of his statistics are really back half of the season loaded, with Jameis in, Amari gone, and Tillman injured. I guess my just larger point here is the stars really had to align for us to get a usable season out of Jerry Jeudy. And I think that they probably need to align for him again in order to continue to be usable. I kind of think he's overvalued. I know our model liked him, the year that he came out, but I just think it's really, really thin.
That's why I mentioned kind of some of those targets probably coming away from him and funneling elsewhere, because a lot of that, to your point, was Jameis adjusted basically. And so I think he probably is a little bit overvalued this year if people are thinking they can rely on that. But I think he'll still be serviceable as that kind of wide receiver 2 option for you on your roster. But I just don't think you're going to see as much of that wide receiver 1 upside that you saw in 2024.
His yards per route run for last season was 1.72. For the rest of his career, 1.82. It's like crazy. He had 714 routes last year. It's like a third of his routes for his career. It's incredible, really, when you look at the last year.
That's why the yards per route run's lower than the other years, because
of course, yeah, exactly. He was running a lot of. I mean, just think about the games they were just like in comeback mode, and Jameis was just firing it all over the place. It's like it's pretty incredible, actually. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's somewhere in between those things, like with a little bit of, I think he's probably that. He's probably a 1.82. I mean, he is that. That's what he is. He's a 20% target guy, 1.8-ish yards per route run. So if he can get himself on the field enough and run 500 routes or something, he can get close to 1,000 yards. That's about what I'm anticipating.
Yeah, I think he's what he's been his whole career, which
Totally.
is a 700 to 900 yard receiver with 2 to 6 touchdowns, right? And
yes,
I think I don't know. I think people hold him in much higher esteem for pedigree reasons, for contractual reasons, and a bunch of other stuff. And
because of last year.
Exactly.
For what he did last year is the biggest one to me. I think people are doing that.
That's right.
So some of those targets, if they do get funneled away from one Jerry Jeudy, maybe there's additional targets that might go to the tight end position, boys, because we could see a lot more 2 tight end sets this year with Harold Fannin being drafted to go alongside David Njoku. I think we'll just kind of start with David Njoku, guys, because I think while we are seeing his exit from Cleveland incoming, I think he's a guy who's going to hold value for a few years longer than that. So I think if there's any value dip on David Njoku, I'd be buying, because he's a guy who has improved his blocking year over year to the point where he can be more than just one of those slot seam stretching tight ends. He's been phenomenal the last 3 or 4 years with the Browns, one of my favorite tight ends to have on a team. And I think even if he leaves the Browns, he's probably going to go to a team that plans on using him pretty heavily. I think he might be a little bit choosy on the team that he goes to, considering he's been with such a sad sack for all of his career. And so I'm still super high on David Njoku as one of those kind of top 7 to 10 tight ends. But I know we love Harold Fannin as well. He just didn't really move that needle too much for me yet, because I think when his needle moves, David Njoku is just not going to be there. So I don't think it's going to be a huge impact on David Njoku. Jax, as the fan and truther of the show, you have been steaming that engine for quite a while right now. Where do you think that sits on that spectrum as far as where I think it's going to be?
I think when Harold Fannin's needle moves, so won't mine. But no, in all seriousness, we've talked about this ad nauseum. I think that the Terrence Ferguson, Elijah Arroyo, Harold Fannin, draft spot in that early 3rd round of rookie drafts was where I'm willing to take shots on these rookie tight ends, and I love it. I mentioned on the undrafted today that I have a couple of shares each of Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland, but I only have those shares in the early 2nd round of rookie drafts. I don't have any 1st round shares of any tight end this rookie draft season out of 22 drafts, and I think that's just the way I played it. Look, if you're going to give them to me in the 2nd round, I'll take them. If not, I'm not spending a 1st round pick on a tight end. And so I think because of that sort of play, it pushed us to taking these tight ends in the 3rd round, which, look, Now we're looking at Devin Neal, right? We were wondering, should we take Devin Neal or one of these tight ends? Devin Neal's in some sort of murky backfield with, with just what we mentioned in New Orleans. All of these tight ends, Terrence Ferguson, Elijah Arroyo, and Harold Fannin, seem to have some hope and upside hope at that because of their sort of skill set. So I think, and look, Mason Taylor, if you like him, we were a little bit more off him. We sort of used Mason Taylor as the gateway to knowing when to draft the other guys. It was like he was the perfect guy because he would go, and then we'd be like, okay, now I got to pay attention and try and trade up to get all these other tight ends.
Yeah.
And it was great, right? So I do think that there's still a shot. I don't know if any of these guys are any good, right? We just don't know. We there's so many years that we see tight ends, Michael Mayer, Ben Sinnott. I know you still are pimping for Sinnott, but he's probably not good. Like, he might be. It's possible, but he didn't do it in his rookie year either. And I love Ben Sinnott. But ultimately, you're taking a shot, and if he doesn't fire, it just may not be a thing. It's okay. Theo Johnson and Jatavian Sanders last year. If they don't fire this year, they're not a thing. It's okay. But it's okay to sort of take these shots on these guys because they're so cheap in rookie drafts. Look, Fannin was a special case because he's basically the Mac version of Brock Bowers, breaking tackles and doing all these things. And yeah, he runs like a duck, which we really like, here on the program. But, all those things being said, he just has a unique skill set that if he gets on the field and if he's targeted, boy, oh boy, watch out because he can earn targets at a crazy level and he can make dudes miss. So I'd love to see it, but I think you're going to have to wait a year. I think he'll work his way onto the field, maybe 20 to 40 targets this year, but that's all I would really expect from Fannin. Yeah. But what if Njoku gets hurt or something like that, right? Then we could totally see things change in a big way.
Yeah, he's the pass catching weapon out of the.
He is.
They probably split. Like if Njoku misses, he probably shares with some blocking lunch pail. But he's the guy who's catching passes for sure.
Yes, sir.
The bull case for Fannin, in my opinion, is Deontay Johnson continues to be a head case.
Bingo.
Loses his damn mind, gets cut, in 3 weeks or, in week 7, right? Fannin is the slot receiver. Right. I don't think him and Njoku do the same thing. And I don't know about Fannin as a blocker, but I do think that he can occupy that part of the field and demonstrated from a production profile standpoint that he can earn targets. And, to a point you made earlier this offseason, like when he had games against real competition, we make fun of his division and question his stats. But when he had games against tough competition, he produced in those games. He was still the number one weapon. So I think the bull case for him is like Deontay Johnson going away and he becomes sort of the slot receiver. And I think that could happen this year.
Yeah,
right?
You don't need much from a tight end for them to return value, right? Like it's like 600 yards is like, wow, what a season,
Yeah, that being said, like Njoku's my guy. I freaking love Njoku. I think like he's such a fun player. I think he's become, now that Chubb's gone, I think like Njoku is like the leader of this team. It's not any of these quarterbacks. Right. It ain't Quinshon Judkins. Right? Like it's like Njoku.
Not Deontay Johnson.
It's not Deontay Johnson. Like, so I don't know that it's a foregone conclusion that Njoku's going to be gone. And I think we could have like a pretty interesting, like long-term sort of 2 tight end scenario here on this team. We'll see, obviously, but like Njoku's done nothing but produce for 3 straight years now. And not only that, he's produced when it's mattered most to us, which is in November and December. It's when he's been putting up these monster games and winning folks championships. So like, I love me some Njoku. I'm very intrigued by Fannin and think there's a case for him as like the slot receiver on this team. And I think that's kind of his pathway in year 1. Regardless, he's a real interesting hold.
So we've got to finish on the Judkins, right? I mean,
dude, I was just gonna say like those 2 tight end sets would seem to play really nicely in Stefanski's hands because he does like to have a very run heavy offense. Was kind of the segue I was thinking of, but I was also going to say I'm just so not stoked to talk about these fucking running backs because Quinshon Judkins is a fucking knucklehead, boys.
Yeah,
and he's my guy, and I'm really having a hard time with that right now because I don't know if you can be my guy when you're a fucking knucklehead like that.
No, he can't be your guy. I mean,
he's not your guy anymore,
no,
bro.
he's not your
Bullshit.
guy. He hurt you. He hurt you, and that's
He
not
did.
right. Yeah,
Among
'cause you
other
wouldn't
people, like not as bad as others. So I
right.
can't complain too
No,
bad.
but I mean, honestly, I mean, honestly, you have great sensibilities. You're a great human being. So him being who he is after you're sort of caping for him as a player doesn't feel as good anymore. So,
No.
lesson number 497 that these guys are all shitheads and we shouldn't worry about them as people. But look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. We're going to have to play this as a fantasy football equation. We need to figure that part out. And that's kind of what I'm wondering here is like, we've seen, I remember Darius Geis. Like, I remember. You know what they did? They just fucking fluffed him up. It was done.
Blackballed his ass. Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. He was a
It's-
4th round pick, if I'm not mistaken, though. It's a little bit different
Geis?
than like pick
2nd
30.
round pick.
He was a second
Was
round
he?
pick.
He
Yeah.
was a 2nd round pick?
Second round
Oh,
pick.
okay. All right.
No,
I
Geis was fucking
misremembered.
dope. And he
Yeah.
was the Marshawn Lynch of that draft. Like, he was just an animal.
He was sick.
And unfortunately, he was an animal off the field too, like a little bit of And so what I'm getting at is they can just sort of move on. It's a running back. They just don't. It doesn't matter. Like, they can just be like, yeah, you know what, you're not worth it. And so that's what gets me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. They also, it's possible. It's just like, yeah, he's 4-game suspension. He'll be back, and we're gonna forget it ever having happened.
Yeah.
So either way is a
They
possibility.
did trade for Deshaun Watson. They did trade for Deshaun Watson.
They drafted Shador. Like, they don't care about anything. Like, they don't have not that Shador ever did anything morally, indiscriminate, but you get my point. Like, they don't give a fuck. So look, at the end of the day, I think Quinshon scares me. We talked about it pre-show. We prefer Caleb Johnson now and RJ Harvey over Quinshon, right?
No
Mhm.
question about it.
Totally.
No question. I mean, I preferred Caleb
That
ahead of
fucking
him
hurts me to
before
see
this.
too.
Yeah. But now I think he's an untouchable asset. I threw out some 2nd round offers for him to, like, in every league. Just, that's just reflexively, that's what I did. I did throw out one late first. I projected to be a late first. I owned somebody else's pick, and I threw it out, and then I, like, later that night, just pulled it back and canceled the trade and deleted the offer. Right? Like, I was just like, I'm actually not comfortable doing that. Because here's the thing: he's not signed, right?
Mhm.
He's not at training camp. He's not getting any reps. He may go on the NFI list, and dudes that don't do anything their rookie year. I mean, it's different at running back than it is at wide receiver and
Shorter
it's
shelf life too, though.
Mhm.
shorter shelf life, and also like the profile of dudes that don't play their first year is not really good. Like,
Right.
you're not going to find a lot of running backs that showed up in year 2 and became superstars. No, they show right away or they don't. And like, his window just got so much smaller, and Sampson's just got so much bigger.
Yep.
Holy cow. That's probably where we should steer this
You want
conversation.
to talk to him again, Joe?
Oh man,
Are you talking to him again?
I've been talking to him for like a week.
All
Yeah,
right.
we're pen pals. We WhatsApp with each other. I call him to ask him how
That's
practice
adorable.
is going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cute.
no. Sampson is very much back in play. I mean, like, I don't know, just to close the loop on Quinshon, like, I don't know what you do. I think you could throw out some seconds for him, but like the odds that this dude hits, the odds that he's worth the risk, I don't know. It's a don't touch, right?
Yeah.
It's a don't
It's
touch.
like it's a wide range, but I think guys, like the chance that it's only 4 to 6 and he comes in as the starter right away for a Browns offense that's starving for something like what Quinshon can bring is, to me, the more likely outcome. You know what I mean? I think they're going to try and work with him through this to the point where they're going to want him to be that guy. And so I think we're going to see him later in this season, depending on what the suspension is and stuff like that. I think if it is only 4 to 6, we're going to see him, and it's going to be a bit of more of a slow roll for him to become that bell cow, I think now, whereas I previously thought week 1 bell cow, no questions asked. Not that case when he starts and comes in there. They're going to want to feel him out and see if they can trust him in that role, both on and off the field. But I think he takes that dynasty dip because of the knuckleheadedness, but I think that creates maybe what's a bit of a buy window. And it feels gross to say, right? You said it too, Joe, like you're throwing out those seconds. I think that's what I would be doing 100% to try and get this guy, because I think the upside could be a running back 1 for us. And so,
what would you sell him for right now?
Oh man,
Would you sell him for a second?
I don't think I would.
Yeah, I
don't
think
think
I'd
I
buy
would.
him for a second. I don't think I'd sell him for a
Yeah,
second
I'd
if I
buy him
had
for it. I
him.
wouldn't sell him for it.
I
Buying him
don't.
for
I
a
don't.
first is tough. Don't think I'd do that.
I don't have him in any leagues because, the process that we followed this offseason led me further back. And I also had Caleb Johnson ahead of him in my rankings just
What
from
about
a talent.
what about like a second, a third, and Tony Pollard? That's like, why not? Right? You get the immediate return. You get a couple picks. Get off
I
of
would take,
nonsense.
if I was a Judkins owner, I'd take that. I'd take
Yeah.
that. Right
I'm gonna
now,
put
like the path is so uncertain.
I'm gonna
And
put him into Dynasty
usually,
Daddy.
Yeah,
yeah, pull
good
it
one.
up. That's
Yeah.
great. Usually we're buying when there's blood in the streets and we're selling like at highs, right? And this is one of those rare instances where it's like, maybe sell low.
Yeah,
Because the path that he's going down,
hitting
yeah,
ladies, it's just there's no
yeah.
coming back from
Well,
that.
it's like just the path he's going down, and whatever. We don't know what happened. We
really don't. We don't.
No.
we have no clue if this is legit. Maybe he's a pariah. Maybe he's a monster. We don't know.
Exactly right.
Right. The road that he's going down, though, it's like not like this is not a path you want to be on for one of your one of your I don't know, pillars of your dynasty team, right? And so I'd rather just get the risk off the table, right? We're
That's what I'm
about
getting at.
acquiring,
Yeah.
we're about acquiring value and preserving value, right?
Yes.
So his value is much harder to preserve. His margin for error got this much thinner, right? And so now it's like next time something weird happens, even if he's innocent now, but then he's guilty of something next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoot, now it's like a year-long
Repeated-
suspension, right? Like
repeated
it's
what about you take Judkins, your 26 second and your 27 second, you send all that for someone's 27 first.
I don't think that's enough.
So you can get yourself a 27 first out of Judkins by giving up 2
I know we
seconds.
want it.
I'm just saying those 27
first. But who's what's the profile of the person who's buying Judkins? Because if you got to figure anybody who's buying Judkins at this point is probably tanking right now, right? So they're probably not in the business of selling future firsts.
But I'm just saying maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can make something happen where someone goes, hey, you know what? I just love trying to find a way to get myself a first. And I don't think you can sell Judkins for a first straight up.
So in the event that he misses significant time, guys, I think what he was brought in to do was to essentially do what both Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson can do just as one player, right? To be the guy with size who can give them some of that kind of explosiveness. Not as explosive as some other guys, definitely not explosive as Sampson, but he can break some runs here and there. I think now, to me, it looks like
Sampson's fake explosive anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think I think it's him as kind of the change of pace guy alongside Jerome Ford as the main first and second down rusher. I think that makes Jerome Ford pretty interesting. I think that makes Dylan Sampson fairly interesting as well, despite the fact that we don't know if he's going to be getting too many targets in this offense, although he would be the guy that's most likely to get them from optics. You know what I mean? I just don't know if the offense is going to be running through running back targets if Quinshon Judkins isn't healthy. So that's kind of what I see if he's out for an extended period. Does one of you guys, Joe, I know you liked you some Sampson and you're back talking to him again. Do you think he could take over kind of the 1A or the 60% of this tandem backfield?
I think the door is open, right? Like, and I don't love Sampson. I actually think Judkins is actually more explosive than him. He's, faster and, burstier and everything else, right? So, I think Sampson's a super underrated player, and I think he can be good. We were just talking about this with Scatterboo in a very different way. His like EPA per play, I think, is going to be pretty good. I think he's going to be successful at getting, forward momentum and yardage on every play. And, maybe there's some big plays in there because he looks really fast, and maybe what we saw in college was a little bit fluky. I think every Jerome Ford owner just got like an extended lifeline. And I think right now is the time to sell Jerome Ford to that Judkins owner or to that Sampson owner. But you're selling Jerome Ford right now, or you're just, if you're desperate, go ahead. You can start him for a few weeks.
He's my RB2 in a couple teams. So
I have him on a couple desperate teams too.
Yeah.
It's not even desperate. I have some loaded teams where I just tend to not invest in running back. I'm just a deep wide receiver kind of drafter, and I'm scrambling to see what I'm going to have to do at running back 2, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, Jerome Ford, how you doing, buddy?
Dude,
so I'm happy to have him. Look, Jerome Ford last year played 4 games where he played more than 70% of the snaps. In those games, 7 targets, 4 targets, 7 targets, 5 targets. In 2023, he played a bunch of games sort of at like close to 50% snap share, or and he had a bunch of games: 4 targets, 3 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets, 7 targets, 5 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets, 5 targets. That was all in 2023. He has been a target guy. Like, he had 63 targets in 2023, 43 last year. So this is a guy. This is a guy that can get targets, even in a non sort of starting role. But if he's thrust into action, I think he's, a floor of about 4 targets per game. If it's Joe Flacco, he does not want to scramble and he does not want to get hit.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 things for sure he does not want to do at his age. Shedeur. Correct. Neither does Dylan Gabriel. I mean, neither does Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett might take off a little bit, but like, those quarterbacks they're checking down, right? Kenny Pickett doesn't even know how to spell check down, but those quarterbacks basically are going to target the running back, presumably. And so Jerome Ford could be found money.
Well, I think that, like, here's the thing is, I think whether or not Judkins was in trouble, I think Ford's role was going to be the same.
Yeah.
I think what's happened, though, is the perception of Ford just got way better. And that's why I think it's like this great sell window, because it's like, I think, I think that I think that, like, Sampson is the dude that was going to be.
Do me a favor and check Dynasty Daddy for Jerome Ford trades, because I bet you there's not much value to him, though. Just me personally. I bet.
I mean, it's a situation people don't want to touch the 10-foot pole, but like, Sampson was a shockingly good short yardage dude. I don't think I think he was like really good at that, despite only being 200 pounds. I don't know. I think
somebody today got a second out of Jerome Ford. Somebody today got a second and a third out of Jerome Ford. There's one where somebody just took a fourth for him. Tyler Shuck straight up. Jerome Ford for Tyler Shuck straight up.
Yikes. That's funny.
2027 round 2. Jalen Coker straight up. I'm keeping Jerome Ford there. Jalen Royals in a 3. Jalen Royals in a 3 is a nice little deal there. The rest of them are big, and he's kind of like a throw-in.
So the ceiling is a second.
The ceiling is a second. Yes, it absolutely is. So I think we can kind of wrap her up on that, boys, just because we're about at the 2-hour mark. I think the biggest takeaway, though, is that it just feels really sad that saying nice things about Quinshon Judkins now feels akin to what it feels like to listen to R. Kelly. So thank you for doing that, Quinshon. We now can barely even say your fucking name, let alone say nice things about what we think about your fantasy value. Fuck. So with that, boys, I will quit lamenting Quinshon Judkins, because I'm still sad. Like, I'm still hate Robert Kelly for ruining R. Kelly's music for all of us, because there's some bangers in there and it sucks. Boys, any parting shots for the people before I ride this fucker out, please? Because
I know for sure. I might even just name the undrafted Quinshon Judkins and then some awesome R. Kelly song. Like, that's probably going to be the
Quinshon Judkins bump and grind.
Ignition.
Quinshon Judkins bump and grind. What else do we got?
I like Quinshon Judkins remix to Ignition.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh, there's some other good ones. I might have a closet that is a bad word for that. I was going to say I might have a closet R. Kelly session, but that is not.
I bet you do.
That. Yeah.
Oh my God. Quinshon Judkins trapped in the closet? Are you kidding me?
Quinshon Judkins. I wish. Okay, boys. So for one, Jax Falcone, for Joquavius Kuvatakis, this has been Dynasty Underground. Subscribe to that channel. Check us on the audio platforms. Follow us on social medias. Until next week, peace.